What's going on, guys? It's Modern, back with another episode of Road to the Top. Still kicking it with the Yveltal and Groudon team we've used the past few episodes. I have made a couple more changes. It's mostly just things having to do with some of the spreads of my Pokemon. For instance, Groudon, I changed its bulk around a little bit. From Mawile, I made it just a bit faster. And then Yveltal, I changed Oblivion Wing to Foul Play just because Oblivion Wing was really situational. And Foul Play was better against pretty much everything except, I think, only two Pokemon I can really think of are Venusaur and Amoonguss. But outside of those, Foul Play is just really, really good against everything else. So I just decided to test it out, change it over. If I don't like it, I'll change it back. But yeah, we're just going to get straight into the battle. Just so you guys know, because I know a couple of people were asking me about when I'm going to change over to new teams, or what's my plan on that. So currently what I want to do is 10 episodes per team. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, just depends on how busy I am. Just because the majority of the teams that I've used so far this season, I've personally made myself. This is actually a team that I've used. Whoa. My DS just froze. Let's fix that. There we go. Gonna play against Fotis from Greece, 1659 rating, pretty decent. Gonna be using pretty much the big six, just Thundurus over the Kangaskhan, which is pretty interesting. I think that makes their matchup against Smeargle a little bit worse, but Thunder Wave's just such a good move, and then obviously Taunt is also really, really nice. But I think I'm able to just bring Salamence and Thundurus right here pretty freely. Excuse me. They're probably just going to lead the standard Smeargle Xerneas, but I do have the Mawile. They might lead the Groudon and something else, but regardless, I don't really think I need to worry about that. I'm just going to go Salamence, Thundurus, Groudon in the back, and I will actually go with Cresselia this battle, I think. Just because they don't have Kangaskhan, it means that I can fairly freely just set up Trick Room against even a +2 Xerneas and then a Salamence, because with Citrus Berry, even a Double Edge plus a Moonblast should not be able to knock out my Cresselia. And if they do, then they probably either need a really, really high roll on both attacks, and then probably also maybe a crit. But just thinking about it, the Cresselia was probably a little bit better than Yveltal in this matchup, just because they don't have Kangaskhan. If they had Kangaskhan, then I would probably just skip on the Trick Room mode. As I do actually lead the Salamence and the Talonflame right here, so this is pretty interesting. Very, very weak to Cresselia lead right here, but I'm honestly fine with that. Both of us going to send our Intimidators, both of them being Salamence. So this is actually pretty nerve-wracking right here, because obviously Salamence speed ties are not very, very fun. What I'm just going to do this first turn is switch out my Salamence into Cresselia, and then I think I'll just... I could Thunderbolt the Talonflame. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. Just because I think it might go for a Quick Guard right here. They might also double up into Thundurus, so that's also something to think about. But most of these teams run Adamant Talonflame, so I think it's safe just to go for a Thunderbolt right here. So at the very least, I just KO the Talonflame. Its priority won't threaten me at all, but they actually make a really nice prediction right there. Switch out into Groudon, which obviously going to put them in a decent position, because that Thunderbolt's just going to be, well, not going to affect the Groudon at all. I do anticipate them to go for something like a Hyper Voice, though, just because with that switch, I mean, they could go for a Draco Meteor if they have that, but they're probably just going to aim for breaking my Sash right here. So excellent play by my opponent, putting them in a really good position straight off the bat. Salamence is going to Mega Evolve, so it's going to stay in right here. Like I said, it's probably just going to go for a Hyper Voice right here. I really hope that they just go for a Hyper Voice. Although a Draco Meteor I wouldn't really mind. And as I actually show Tailwind on Salamence, so that's pretty interesting, having both Talonflame and Salamence with Tailwind. I think I can just sack Thundurus right here then. Because 100% I'm just going for Trick Room. I'm probably just going to Thunderbolt the Salamence right here. And okay, they just go for a Protect, so that's completely fine. I assume they're just going to go for an Eruption. No, actually a Fire Punch into Gracelia, most likely. No, into Thundurus too. I really wonder what they're going for right here, because that made no sense to me. I don't know. The ladders, like I was saying in the last few episodes, though, the ladders have just reset, so ratings are a bit slanted. So like ratings in like the 15 to 1700s are actually a lot lower than they. How do I put it? It's a lot easier to get up to there just because everyone's at the 1500s. But later in the season, it starts to get a little bit more difficult because the players are sort of spread out. It takes a little bit longer to get matches, and the skill level sort of goes up. But now that the Trick Room's up, I think what I can do is I can just Ice Beam Salamence and then Thunderbolt again. It will KO the Salamence if they do decide to stay in, and then if they bring in Smeargle or something into that slot, then I will be able to get a decent amount of damage off. Xerneas. But they actually stay in with Salamence, so that's really surprising to me. And it looks like I'll be able to take them out with this Thunderbolt, so that's really nice. The Salamence Mirror is always very, very scary, but now that it's gone, I really don't need to worry about it. And then, okay, and they have Rock Slide, so that's fine. So as long as they don't have Smeargle in the back, then I should be able to just go for a Gravity Precipice Blades next turn, I think. Because I'm just going to bring in Groudon right here. I don't want to risk them bringing in the Xerneas or anything, because that'd be very, very bad for me right here. Just because my Salamence would go down in one shot, as I do bring in Xerneas, so that's really nice for me. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a really sort of cool play. I'm going to go for the skill swap onto my Groudon to give me Levitate, and then the next turn I can just freely go for a Gravity. It's sort of a cool play just because it makes it so that people will try to play around the skill swap or your Levitate, but then you get rid of it entirely and you like 100% hit. There's not too much of a reason to go for Gravity right here, though, I think. And honestly, I'm probably just going to skill swap my Groudon right here and then just Fire Punch the Xerneas for insurance. Because most likely what they'll do is, I was going to say, they're probably just going to switch out Groudon and then either Geomancy or Protect. But at the very least, it means if I do go for a Gravity next turn, then I'll be able to just get a knockout on a Talonflame, and then I'll also be able to get off a lot of damage on Xerneas. Yeah, because I don't want them to rack up a huge ton of damage with Talonflame right here. Even though I do have Salamence in the back. Okay, and their Tailwind does run out right here. So yeah, I'm not really threatened by the Talonflame at all. I didn't Mega, right? Okay, I didn't, because I still have the Intimidate. So yeah, no, I think I'm just going to play it super safe right here. I'm just going to double up into Xerneas with an Ice Beam and a Fire Punch. And if they do switch into Groudon, okay, so they don't. I was going to say, if they switch into Groudon, then that's really risky because if I do have the Gravity, then they almost just automatically lose the game. The reason I went for this play, though, is because I know that the Xerneas is a really, really big threat, but I don't want to get rid of my Levitate just yet. Just because if they end up in a situation where they have +2 Xerneas against me, as I do actually set it up, I was going to say, if they do end up setting that up with the Xerneas, then I don't want to be in a bad position where I pretty much have to rely on, what is it? I don't want to have to rely on having to beat them with my Salamence, basically. Because my Groudon, once the Trick Room's over, it'll be able to just get one-hit KO'd by their Groudon. And then Gravity also makes it so Precipice Blades hits my Salamence. Yeah, now is a situation where I can just Ice Beam Xerneas and then Rock Slide. They're probably just going to go for another Brave Bird with their Talonflame. Maybe a Flare Blitz just to maybe scout out if I'm going to go for the safe play. But no, they do just go for Brave Bird. And it looks like it's going to be into Groudon this time, I think. Okay, so they're just heavily targeting down Groudon, probably trying to put it into Dazzling Gleam range. But I'm honestly fine with that. I'm not sure if Trick Room ends this next turn. I think it does. If it doesn't, though, I pretty much win the game because I can just go for a Precipice Blades, and I think a Gravity. Okay, and it does end, so that's completely fine. This means right here, I'm probably just going to Fire Punch Xerneas, and then... yeah, I mean, I think they're just going to Dazzling Gleam right here. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll just Trick Room, and then, as I was saying, just Fire Punch the Xerneas. So this puts me in a situation where if I either survive Dazzling Gleam, or if they do double up into Cresselia with a Moonblast Fire Punch, I should be able to survive with Cresselia if they did go for the Dazzling Gleam. And then if they did just double target with a Moonblast Fire Punch, I would be able to KO the Zern with Salamence the next turn, because Trick Room would be up. Okay, and I do survive. I was thinking I could survive that, because I was still pretty good HP right there. But now this next turn, Salamence comes in for free. I can just spam Hyper Voice and I guess just Ice Beam the Groudon. Intimidate's going to come out, which is also really important. That's what I was talking about earlier. Just because it makes it so their Groudon can't really do any damage to me. And then, honestly, if I really wanted to go for a weird play, I might actually skill swap my Salamence and then not Mega right here. Because I want to Intimidate their Groudon again. Because Double Edge will definitely knock out Xerneas right here. They're just going to Protect, though, but I'm just playing it really safe right now. But the skill swap means that I'll be able to get the Intimidate off once again onto the Groudon. And then, like I was saying, Double Edge would actually be able to knock out. As I actually go for Rock Slide, too, so that's not going to really deal too much to Salamence right here. And even Double Target next turn, it really should not be able to knock me out. I'm just really hoping at this point that, let's see, because that was the second turn of Trick Room, I think. But this turn I can just definitely Mega Evolve, go for a Hyper Voice. Groudon is double intimidated. It looks like it's an Adamant set, though. So I am in range of 2 Rock Slides. That's really, really bad. But I will be able to stall out the Trick Room, I think, over the next couple turns. Oh, wait, no, okay, they can flinch. I don't know. Oh, and they crit me. That really sucks. Okay. I probably would have won the game right there, but... You know, it's Pokemon. It happens. I was going to say, at that point, I could really just stall out the Trick Room on my side. Yeah, because Salamence... Yeah, no, I would have been able to stall it out. But see, now I really wish that I would have just protected and Trick Roomed. But I thought my opponent would honestly double up into the Cresselia, predicting that. But yeah, that crit definitely mattered in the end right there. Because I would have been able to stall out my own Trick Room, and then a single target Hyper Voice would be able to finish up the knockout on Groudon. Even if they were super, super bulky, a double target plus a single target Hyper Voice would be able to pick up the knockout. Next opponent, going to be Misha, United States player, 1500s. And a team with only 1 restricted Pokemon. Okay. Yeah, okay, no, this is actually, like, really, really, like, good for me right here. Salamence and Yveltal is really, really strong for a lead right here. Groudon in the back, also really strong. Cresselia, just because Thundurus doesn't really do anything this match. And it also means I can either Gravity or match a skill swap under the Trick Room, if either of us do decide to set it up. So this is basically a Big Six team with Nidoqueen over Xerneas. And they actually lead with Nidoqueen Kangaskhan right here, so that's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm really free just to go for a switch into Cresselia and then probably a Snarl, I think. Let's see. Snarl would reduce their special attack. I could just go for a Dark Pulse, maybe. I'm not sure if that would 2-hit KO the Nidoqueen, though. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go for a Snarl right here in the switch out. Even if they do fake out Yveltal and double into it, I should be able to survive. Just because of the Intimidate, and if they do attack, it also means that Snarl would go off. But I just want to play it safe here. I think Salamence is very important for this matchup right here. Just given that they do have the Groudon and potentially Talonflame in the back. Let's see, they do fake out Yveltal. They go for Blizzard! Okay, but they double miss. I was going to say, that would have been pretty dumb right there. Yeah, I think now what I can do is I can just... Do I want a Trick Room? No, I don't. Snarl's still decent. I think I'll just Ice Beam Nidoqueen and then go for the... I don't know. I'm probably just going to Trick Room and Dark Pulse and Nidoqueen, I think. But the Nidoqueen's slower, too, so I'm not really sure. I don't know. Snarl chip damage, I think, is really nice on the Kang right here. They actually show Power-Up Punch going into the Cresselia right here. So now I sort of wish I went for Foul Play on that slot, but I guess my opponent doesn't know that Yveltal usually gets that. Let's see. Snarl's going to go off, going to hit both of these Pokemon right here. Does actually pretty decent damage against the Nidoqueen. I thought it was going to be a lot bulkier. Let's see. It's actually slower than Cresselia here, too, so that's really interesting. Nidoqueen is going to go for the Sludge Bomb into Cresselia, so that's fine. I'm not sure if my Yveltal can actually survive right here. Yeah, I definitely don't think I survive +1 anything, unless it's a return. Yeah, if they have Double Edge, it's a roll to KO. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back out into Salamence and then go for a Dark Pulse into the Nidoqueen. Because that should be able to knock out the Nidoqueen, and then the Intimidate will make sure that Yveltal survives another turn. And if they get really, really greedy and go for a Power-Up Punch again, then I can just easily double into Kangaskhan the next turn. So let's see. Nidoqueen does withdraw, probably going into, I'd imagine, Groudon. Actually into Cresselia, so the Dark Pulse is going to do a lot of damage right here. Kangaskhan does have the Double Edge, so that's what I was expecting. Going into the Yveltal, but with that Intimidate, I am able to survive, so that's really nice. The chip damage is really, really important on the Cresselia right here. I actually get a critical hit, so that's a bit unfortunate for my opponent. And they are carrying the Citrus Berry, so that's even more important for them right here. And their Sucker Punch definitely knocks out Yveltal right here. So I can't just freely attack with Yveltal. I think I'll just double back into Cresselia and then probably just Foul Play the Kangaskhan, I think. Now, you know what? I'll Sucker Punch the Cresselia right here. I could Sucker Punch Kangaskhan, and it might actually pick up the knockout, but... Okay, yeah, they just go for Trick Room Double Edge. See, yeah, they would have knocked themselves out right there. I have no idea why they didn't Sucker Punch. That was definitely their safest play. Even if I switched out, it was their safest play because they would just Trick Room and get a free switch in. Or sorry, not a free switch in, but they'd be in a good position is what I meant. And Groudon is going to come out right here. This is actually a pretty interesting situation now. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to skill swap my Groudon to get the Levitate, and then I'll just go for a Fire Punch into Kangaskhan. Let's see. Okay, their Cresselia does have gravity, so that's fine with me. Like I was saying, I could also have the gravity up too. But the gravity is just going to help me more than it helps them, really. I mean, I guess what I could have done right here is skill swap the Kangaskhan to get Parental Bond, and that would actually allow me to KO the Nidoqueen, which would be really nice. But now at this point in the battle, I think it's pretty much wrapped up. As long as I don't lose, like, unless they have Helping Hands, Precipice Blades, and they also win the speed tie between Groudons. Yeah, and I think what I'll do right here is actually just scout the Helping Hands. I'll go for a Ice Beam into Groudon, and then just a Protect. Okay, and they do have the Helping Hand. The reason I'm going for this play right here is because I want to see if it's worth switching in Salamence for the Intimidate, because I can survive a Helping Hand Groudon at -1 attack. And actually does a lot of damage. It is a critical hit, though. Precipice Blades comes out, probably going to do about 75% to Cresselia. Might actually pick up the knockout. But no, Cresselia just being so bulky is able to survive right there. Citrus Berry going to bring it up to almost half HP. But now I'm put in a position where I can pretty much just bring out Salamence and then go for my own Precipice Blades. And then at any rate, even if they do win both speed ties, I should be able to stall out Trick Room yet again with Salamence. Just in case if I don't pick up the knockout right here with Precipice Blades. So let's see, Groudon goes for Protect. Are they going for Ice Beam into my Salamence slot? And they actually do, so really nice prediction on my opponent's side right here. Doesn't pick up the knockout, though. I wasn't thinking it would. Just because I do have a little bit of HP investment. Precipice Blades misses a knockout onto their Cresselia, too, so that's pretty interesting. But now I can just switch back into my own Cresselia and then go for another Precipice Blades. I know for a fact that their Groudon won't be able to one-shot mine without a critical hit now. And then I can just successfully stall out the Trick Room, and Hyper Voice should finish up the match. But yeah, that was a really, really good play by my opponent right there, going for the Ice Beam. It was sort of an obvious switch just because they know I do have the Intimidate conserved in the back. But I also knew that my Salamence had a really, really pretty safe time right there switching into that. As I actually win the speed tie right here, so I might be able to win the game just right here. But no, Groudon survives it a little bit. That's what I was expecting. It was probably a damage roll, and it was probably in my favor, but like I said, it's really fine at this point. I can just stall out the Trick Room, and yeah, it doesn't knock on my Groudon, so that's what I was thinking. Crit onto Cresselia might have mattered, I'm not really sure. It actually probably definitely mattered now that I think about it, but Salamence can just easily come out right now. Hyper Voice and a Fire Punch easily locks up the match, just because I know that my Groudon is faster than their Nidoqueen. Excuse me, just given that my Cresselia outsped it. Definitely a really close match, though. The Nidoqueen gave me a little bit of trouble earlier in the match. And then the power-up punch on Kangaskhan was obviously very, very threatening, but I was able to play around both the Helping Hand Precipice Blades as well as the power-up punch, and that just sort of let me win the game. And then obviously, even though my opponent did get a really nice prediction in the late game right there, I was still able to bring it back, just because I knew that I was safe going for that play, even if they did make the prediction, because I knew that I could just stall out Trick Room. I also knew that Helping Hand Precipice Blades wouldn't knock out my Groudon at -1. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode, guys. Thanks for coming around, checking out my channel. I know, obviously, there's a pretty big influx of new viewers coming in right now, just because the, I guess you could say the video scene for Pokemon's sort of exploding right now. A lot of new viewers, so thank you guys all for checking out the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please go and leave a like. Helps me out a lot. Makes this so much more worth it, knowing that you guys enjoyed the video. And also, if you didn't like something, please go leave a comment about it. I'll make sure to try to change it as best as possible. And as always, thanks for watching.